Today we're taking the ferry to Ocracoke Island and we are praying the weather holds up.
At this point, it was not looking promising, but we were in line for the ferry and had a hotel reservation waiting for us when we arrived. Even though the distance from Cedar Island to Ocracoke doesn't look that far on a map, we were going to be on the ferry for 2.5 hours, so I wanted to stretch my legs before settling in for a long sit. Strolling on the beach, I found a few very beautiful shells and a lot of jellyfish. As always, I'm staying far away from these bad boys because I am not knowledgeable enough to accurately identify which jellies these are, but I know that many keep their sting long after they've washed up, and I was not going to take that chance. As we were getting closer to takeoff, I headed back to the car and we loaded up. These ferry workers have this down to a science. We had barely driven onto the ferry when the gate was closed and we were moving. I'm not normally one who gets seasick, but I was feeling a little iffy after doing some reading, so I opted for a little nap to finish out our time. When I opened my eyes, we were driving off the ferry and I was feeling much better. We dropped off our things at the hotel and kept on cruising since the sky was continuing to keep us dry. We said hello to the ponies and headed straight to the beach. Surprise, surprise. The tide was super low, so we decided to fan out, and I was walking through the water when all of a sudden this beautiful sand dollar showed itself. This is pure luck right here, and I was so excited. I found a second smaller one right around the time my sister plucked a sand dollar off the beach higher up, and then I was lucky enough to find a third one not too long after. Jellies on this beach also mean jellies in the water, so as I was strolling, I was making sure to keep a close eye on what was coming towards me as the waves rolled in. After all, I would hate to have to beg my sister to pee on my leg after getting stung. Okay, that was a joke. Please do your research if you get stung by a jellyfish before anyone does any peeing. I also found an additional tiny sand dollar, but decided to put it back since its middle was not intact. Since we were covering as much beach as possible, Gracie took off ahead of us and ended up finding the absolute jackpot. Not one, but 2 Scotch bonnets. They both had inhabitants, so she put them back into the water so they could continue to thrive. But how beautiful are those shells? After a few hours, the tide was coming back in and we were ready to call it quits, so we did a quick show and tell of what we each found in the trunk of the car. Looks like we all found some gorgeous scallops during this hunt. I have to admit, they are some of my favorite shells to find. On our way back to town, we swung by the lighthouse and I learned a very important lesson. Even though something may be called a horrific name like swamp rat, the animal could actually look very cute. These guys were so furry and hilarious to watch snack. We could hear the crunching loud and clear. Although the lighthouse itself was a little underwhelming, apparently this is one of the oldest operating lighthouses in the United States and the oldest operating lighthouse in North Carolina. Ocracoke is so small that we decided to keep risking the rain and walk to dinner, which took us about 5 minutes to do. We were ravenous and this food was as delicious as it looked, so we made short work of it and then headed back home to send up all our wishes for another dry day tomorrow.